All right. Is that it, Jay?
I don't really have a question on the tip of my tongue for you this week. Sorry.
No problem. Hey, so are you still doing a lot of rentals? Or are you converting any of them to owner finance, or what are you doing?
Well, when we spoke there 2 months ago, you used the term "don't kick a sleeping dog."
Yeah.
The payments are coming in. It really hasn't been that big of a deal. So I'm just going to let these things ride until it turns into a headache. And then at that point, the real money to be made is seller financing these houses. But these folks are moving me from short-term to long-term capital gains. And, it's working. And then the house is cash flow.
Yeah. Well, there you go. I mean, yeah, I don't believe in messing up a perfectly good renter. If they're paying, leave them alone. All right, my friend.
Now I've got a question for you.
Okay.
Just kind of curious it feels like things are slow across the board for me where I'm at. With the data that you have in your business, are you guys seeing a little dip here at this time of year, or is it business as usual for you?
No, it's kind of business as usual, but it always goes up and down. It's like, you have a big month and then you're struggling one month and then you're having a big month, or it could go by the quarter, It's never really level, It's either boom, there's always peaks and valleys, It's
okay.
You kind of just look at it like the whole year, and then you could look back at a year and go, yeah, it was a little slow, but not by month or by quarter.
Yeah. Now, I got another question for you. I've got so one of these rentals I own free and clear. I was wondering and it's held in an LLC. Would a commercial line of credit with that house of collateral be a smart move, or would you prefer to bring private money into place there so that you have the option of selling, seller financing with a wrap note?
Well, that's a good question. So I would prefer private money if, because of the non-recourse and just the likelihood that, I don't know, in the event of some fuss or cluck that people would work with you. But on the other hand, it depends. A line of credit might be a whole lot cheaper than, the interest rate might be a whole lot better than a private person. So, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Just private monies, people are easier to deal with, and they might give you, let's say your bank has $1 billion, but they're only going to give you so much on that one house, right?
Yeah.
Well, if you get a private lender and he has $1 billion, he'll loan on houses from now to kingdom come.
Yeah, it's true. Yep.
You might pay a little bit more for the money, but there's a lot of more upside. I mean, they can drag their family members in when they're impressed with you, or they can refer you, or they can be part of your references for new private lenders.
Yep.
It's not the same as you say, well, I've dealt with this bank and I've paid them. I don't know. It's not the same. They want to talk to, hey, some other guy, Joe Schmo, who's been loaning you money. Really? Let me talk to him.
Okay.
What do you think the interest rate would be on a line of credit?
Probably about 5%, I would think, somewhere in there.
In private money, what would you expect to pay?
Private. So I'm in the process of cultivating some new lenders, some more passive people. I got a couple of dentists in my circle that I'm slowly showing them that the stable and returns of real estate. I've been having conversations with them at 8% interest only, and the problem I'm running into is they have to run it by their financial planner, who doesn't make any money if they place their money with me, whereas he makes a commission or a fee when he places money.
You just have to explain that to them up front. There's no reason whatsoever for your financial planner. But you said to show them the steady growth of, or the stability of the income. What's more important, I think, is to show them the value of their collateral versus what they're loaning you. I think that's a stronger argument. And I want to tell you what else. I have stopped advertising that I do interest only money, 8%. If you want to write this down, these are the 4 options that I'm giving people right now. Actually, I only give 3 options. 95% of the time. There's a few properties I can give the 4th option on. Because I'm looking at this, you have good cash flow already, right? So you don't have to max out on cash flow on every house anymore. You can pay interest plus principal, just interest, right?
True, Mitch. I'm in the process of building cash flow to the point that it offsets my full-time job.
Well, okay, that might be an argument to stay with interest only, but it's usually not that much more principal. Your payment's not that much bigger to have a principal reduction. And you go 3 and 4 and 5 years with interest only and not reducing your principal at all. It's kind of daunting when, you know what I mean, when you look at, but if you're trying to replace your income, I understand interest only because every dollar counts till you outrun your job, right? So, but I'm offering, I changed 8% 5 years interest only. I changed that to 15-year AM with a 5-year balloon.
Okay.
And then if they want to give me 10 years, if they want to give me 10 years fully amortized, I'll pay them 9%. And if they want to give me 15 years fully amortized, I'll give them 10%. So this is a way to advertise. I pay 10%. They call you and say, I'm interested in that 10% money you're talking about. You say, well, I want a 15-year fully amortized loan for 10%. They say, well, I don't want to tie up my money for that. And then now you've got them on the line with the 10%, and you can work down to the 9% and to the 5%. And there's all kinds of hybrids of this. It's a 15-year, I'll pay 9.5% if you give me a 15-year AM with a 7.5-year balloon. You can do it however you want, but just as a basic roadmap, I was advertising 10%. When they call me, I tell them the terms are 15 years. They don't like 15 years, then I start working them down to 9% or 8%. You know what I mean? I can do a shorter term for you, but I got to pay a little less. But don't forget, my collateral is still as valuable as it always was.
Yeah, and I feel like now is the time to be reminding these folks that may not be on board just yet. The Dow, what did we lose? 8 or 9% in the last couple of days with the Dow Jones. So
yeah,
pretty good time to say, hey, you know what, this rental house that I'm using as collateral, it didn't lose 10% of value in 2 days.
Yeah, and the rent certainly didn't drop 10%.
Right.
So, one thing I like to do when the stock market really gets rocky is I just go up to anybody that looks successful and go, holy crap, have you seen that stock market? And you can tell within 2 seconds on their face if they're in heavy. And if they're in heavy, say, like they'll roll their eyes and go, yeah, it's kicking my butt. And then you go, man, I'm so glad I got out of that. Man, I started doing something different, and I'm so glad I don't have to live by that ticker tape anymore. And then if they got any brains at all, they're gonna ask you what you do, and then there's your chance, So
right.
Down markets are really easy to get people to open up about listening to another choice.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, my friend. But we're finding a lot of 15-year amortized money right now at some with the 5-year balloon and some. Normally one of the questions I ask is, what are you using your own private money? Are you using money in an IRA or a 401k? And then, I ask them how old they are. If I can't tell, if they're really young, I don't need to ask them. I know they're in their 20s or their 30s. I know they got 15 years to go before they're 59 and a half. I say, look, this is perfect. I can put you on a 15-year note, and you just set it and forget it. Your money's every year for the next 15 years is making its money. And what's cool about an amortizing note when you're selling to your lender is, and with every month I pay, your risk is going down even further than from where you started. And your risk isn't very big from the start. Every month I make the interest payment and some principal, your exposure gets less and less and less.
Yep.
So the fourth thing I do is when I have some, like I might have a mobile home and a little lot or something, $25,000, I might put it on a 5 or 6 year loan at 6%, fully amortized, which means in like 2 years they have no exposure,
Say that for me one more time.
Well,
Right
when I have properties that are smaller numbers, really cheap properties, like a piece of land for $25,000 that someone could move a mobile home onto, I might choose to sell or finance that land. And since I don't need cash flow right now, I have plenty of cash flow. I just select to put it on a really short note. I'll pay you 6% on a 5 or 6 year note, fully amortized. So every month you're just smacking the heck out of their risk.
Yeah. Yep.
And I don't make any money off that. I might even be upside down $20, $30. But I've got it sold on a 30-year note, and I'm going to have it paid off in 5 or 6 years, and I got 24 years free and clear.
Right.
But I might be at a little different stage than you're at.
Yeah. Okay, I got one more question for you, if you don't mind.
No, sure, go ahead.
Aside from Joe selling note partials there earlier in the call, if someone did want to sell, let's say 1 year of payments or something like that, where would you advertise that stuff? Or where would someone like me advertise that stuff to reach potential note buyers?
Oh, so where would you advertise to sell a partial?
Yes.
Man, I think there's I think there's websites you can post your notes on. And I think Eddie has one. You may not need to look any further than your own local community area, because when you sell a partial, the buyer of the partials really doesn't have a lot of risk.
No, not a lot of risk. And it'd be, that's simply on a contract. So I guess you'd probably want it to be someone locally with a relationship.
Well, at the end of the day, you don't really care, but it's kind of difficult sometimes to advertise nationwide. But look at these. I ought to go out and check this out, but I haven't sold notes in so long. Just type in note sale websites or something and see who's posting and what they're charging to post. I mean, some of them might be charging flat fees of $500 or maybe they have other reasons for just letting you post for free. I don't know, but.
Okay.
Does anybody out there know of a good website to post your notes for sale or your partial?
As I was asking that question, it clicked. I mean, I'm part of Walter Wofford's network, and there's plenty of note buyers in there, so it wouldn't be that hard. Wouldn't be that hard to do it. I was just kind of trying to think of, any of the other avenues outside of what I have available to me right now. But I mean, I think my network and like I just said, there, Walter Wofford's network, that'd be probably the easiest, smartest thing to do.
Yeah, those guys can probably shortcut it for you.
Yep.
I just haven't sold a note. Well, actually, I just sold a note the other day, but I just have, who I sell. Sometimes I take my really good private lenders that have loaned me money for a long time or do me a good job, day in and day out. And I say, look, I want to sell this note and I'm owed $30,000 on a house that's worth $100,000. The guy used to owe me $60,000, but he's made extra payments like crazy over the last 4 years. And now he owes about what I owe, and I got to get out of this thing. And so I'll go to my very tried and true lenders and go, I'm going to make you a freaking deal of the century. Here's a note and I still collect that note. I still collect. I make sure that the collections are at my office through my servicing company, right? And I put in that I have the right to buy that note back anytime I want to. So if the $100,000 house goes in default, I know because I'm in cahoots with the servicing company. You know, the servicing company not only has to tell my note buyer when things are screwed up, but they also got to tell me because I got first right of refusal. And if I hear that note, that $30,000 note's upside down and that house is still worth $100,000, I'm buying that note back. Almost on every note sale, my friend in Madrid, every note he's ever sold to anyone, which obviously this isn't going to work on an institutional buyer, but he sells his notes to private people. And in his contract, he has the right to buy every note he ever sold in his life back at the balance owed whenever he wants to. So if he won the lottery and won $100 million and he needs something to do with it, he just goes back and buys every note that he sold over the last 10 years. Because he put that clause in there. I don't know if you're following me. You sound like maybe you're not following me.
No, I am following you now. I totally get it. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you sell someone a dynamite note or whatever, let me just run the example. House is worth $100,000. When I sold it, the guy put $40,000 down. He had a $60,000 note, but every year he put down, he paid an extra $10,000 in principal. So now he owes about what I owe. You know, I bought the house for $30,000. And now he owes about what I owe. Well, I gotta go cash out. You know what I mean? I'm not making any more money. So anyways, but I would put in there when I sell my note that I have the right to buy the note back anytime I want to. So that if that guy somehow goes in default in the fourth quarter of this note, I am the one who gets to foreclose and take over the $100,000 house.
Right. Yeah. I totally get it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's great.
To tell you the truth, my private lenders don't care. They just want their 8 or 9 or 10%, and they don't even want to think about foreclosing on a house. And it doesn't even matter that the house is worth 100 and their note balance is 29,000. They don't care. They actually feel good. Okay, if there's a screw up, you'll just give me my 29,000, whatever the balance is. I say, yeah, I'll do it.
Yep.
I'm actually putting it in there because I want it. I want the house if it defaults.
All right.
All right, man.
Well, we're having no questions for you. That turned out to be a pretty good conversation.
Well, you know, sometimes when people don't have questions, just tell me what you're doing this week or start up what you're trying to do or what you want to do, and maybe me or we can up the game. You know what I mean? Just by talking.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, Mitch. I appreciate it.
All righty. And since there's no hands up, I will say that too. If you don't know a question to ask, just tell me what you've been doing this week, and maybe we can improve on that.